The Viking warrior is often imagined as a berserker, wild and unstoppable, a force of nature feared across the ancient world. But this myth hides the real people beneath the armor, men and women with hopes, doubts, and daily struggles. They were not gods, just farmers, fishermen, and craftsmen, enduring the cold, hunger, and fear, working tirelessly to provide for their families. Their true stories are about survival, not just victory, about facing the relentless challenges of their harsh homeland. The real battle was against the elements, sickness and homesickness, not just enemy blades or distant foes. Picture them huddled in boats, soaked and shivering, far from home, wrestling with doubt and longing for the warmth of their hearth. The Viking campaign was more about tension and endurance than constant battle, more about patience than glory. The sounds were not just clashing steel, but creaking timbers, gulls and hushed voices around a smoky fire, sharing stories and fears. Every sunrise was a victory. Every sunset brought new uncertainty, as each day was a test of spirit and will. Their sagas hint at loyalty, loss, and the psychological cost of violence, revealing the depth of their emotional lives. The invincible warrior is a fantasy. The enduring survivor is the true hero, marked by scars both seen and unseen. By stripping away the myth, we find a more relatable figure, a human being, pushing against the limits of endurance, shaped by hardship. The Vikings' greatest struggle was not on the battlefield but within, in moments of doubt and quiet reflection. Their resilience is rooted in vulnerability, not invincibility, in the courage to keep going despite fear and pain. This is the real story worth telling, the story of ordinary people who became legends by simply enduring. Life on a Viking campaign was a relentless test of body and mind, pushing every warrior to their absolute limits. Each day brought new challenges, and the hardships began long before the first clash of swords. The longship, though ingeniously built for speed and agility, offered no comfort, just exposure to biting winds, freezing spray, and the constant threat of storms. There was no shelter from the elements, only the open sky and the endless churning sea. Sleep was rare and uncomfortable. Men huddled together for warmth, but the cold seeped into their bones. Sickness and exhaustion set in before any battle began, weakening even the strongest among them. The monotony of endless sea, the same faces day after day, and rationed food wore down even the most resilient spirits. The journey itself became a mental battle, as much as a physical one. Hunger and fatigue were constant companions, gnawing at their strength and resolve with every passing hour. The excitement of adventure faded quickly, replaced by a daily struggle for survival. Every day was a test of willpower, as the hardships of the voyage ground them down. Landfall brought no relief. Raids were chaotic, exhausting, and dangerous. The promise of riches came at a steep price, and every victory was paid for in blood and sweat. After battle, there was no rest. Wounded to tend, plunder to carry, and constant vigilance against surprise attacks. The threat of danger never truly faded. Injuries lingered, pain became chronic, and nutrition was poor. Recovery was slow, and every wound was a reminder of the journey's cost. The body was worn down by every wave, every mile, every blow. Each day left its mark, both seen and unseen. The psychological toll was just as severe. Mental fatigue, tension, and the grind of hardship weighed heavily on every mind. The endless uncertainty and danger tested their spirit. The Viking warrior's greatest enemy was often the journey itself, a relentless adversary that demanded everything they had. Their endurance was forged not in glory, but in the grind, through endless rowing, harsh weather, and the daily struggle to survive. Survival meant enduring the relentless, not just the dramatic. It was the quiet suffering, the unseen battles that truly defined them. This was the true test of a Viking's strength, the ability to endure, to persist, and to survive against all odds. At first, a young warrior's heart burned with dreams of glory, visions of legendary battles, honor, and a name sung by skalds for generations. And silver, the promise of riches and spoils, seemed to shine as brightly as the northern stars. The thrill of adventure and camaraderie was intoxicating, every night filled with laughter, stories, and the warmth of brotherhood. But as weeks turned to months, excitement faded into routine and hardship, the days blurring together in endless marches and cold, sleepless nights. Battles became just another job. Friends fell to disease and exhaustion, and the cost of each victory grew heavier. The cost of glory became painfully clear, etched in scars and marked by the graves of fallen comrades. Weariness set in, not just in the body, but in the soul, as hope and energy slowly drained away. Warriors questioned the purpose. Was silver worth the loss, or was something greater slipping through their fingers? The sagas show heroes growing grim, laughter replaced by silence, and the weight of memory settling on every face. True strength was not in a single battle, but in enduring when the fire of glory faded and the world grew cold and uncertain. The ultimate test was surviving the long, slow grind, finding meaning and courage even as the embers of glory dimmed. Faith was a Viking warrior's anchor. Odin, Thor, and Freya shaped their world. Rituals and offerings brought comfort and courage, promising Valhalla for the brave. But prolonged suffering tested even the strongest faith. Senseless death and disease made the gods seem distant, their promises hollow. Encounters with Christianity brought new doubts and confusion. When faith faltered, warriors felt truly alone, adrift in a world without meaning. The silence of the gods was a wound no healer could mend. The spiritual struggle was often the deepest scar. The Norse sagas hint at the psychological toll of war. Heroes return changed, prone to rage, melancholy, and withdrawal. Egil Skallagrimsson's grief shows a warrior overwhelmed by trauma, saved only by expressing it through poetry. Returning home, many warriors struggled to fit in, their skills ill-suited for peace. They were respected, but also feared, outsiders in their own homes. Communities grappled with the consequences of sending men to war. The sagas reveal violence leaves invisible scars, deeply felt by warriors and their families. You cannot expect men to return unchanged. The true cost of war was carried in silence. The axe was more than a weapon, it was a burden. Warriors hardened themselves to survive, suppressing fear and empathy. This hardening chipped away at their ability to connect and find peace. Returning home, the weight of the axe remained. Rage, anxiety, and vigilance lingered. Everyday life triggered battlefield instincts. The sagas show men haunted by their deeds, plagued by nightmares and memories. Many drank to numb the pain. The axe brought fame, but also private torment. Understanding this weight reveals the human struggle behind the myth. The true battle was learning to live with the consequences of strength. How did Viking warriors survive such hardship? They found shelter in brotherhood and ritual. Life on the longship forged bonds stronger than friendship, a brotherhood of survival. Shared hardship created unspoken understanding and support. Personal rituals, sharpening an axe, carving wood, reciting poetry, brought order to chaos. Art and poetry helped process trauma, turning pain into meaning. Finding new purpose was key. Some became leaders, others embraced peace. Survival meant redefining identity beyond the axe and shield. The real victory was finding a way to live after the battles ended. Endurance was not just physical, but deeply personal. Shelter was found in connection, ritual, and new beginnings. The Viking warrior's lesson is not invincibility, but endurance. Their struggles show that survival is about coping when broken, not being unbreakable. The echoes of their hardships resonate today. Modern warriors face similar invisible wounds. The sagas remind us that resilience is rooted in adaptability, community, and meaning-making. Survival was a collective effort, not just individual toughness. History is the story of real people. their fears and doubts connecting us across time. The true legacy is not violence, but resilience in the face of human limits. That is the story worth remembering.